Now, welcome to another edition of News from Naboo with Thor's Lightning Takes. And let's get right to the news.
I actually want to open with a clip you literally just showed me with Sam Witwer.
Okay.
Because they were asking him about Darth Maul, and at the end he says, I think I've said too much. Could it imply that maybe some of this is going to get covered within the new Darth Maul show that's coming?
Yeah, he was talking about why does Maul show kind of loyalty to Palpatine? Because he could at any time be like, hey, Jedi, I know who the Sith Lord is. It's Palpatine. Not that they would necessarily believe him, but they'd probably investigate.
Because he doesn't reach out until right before Order 66 to be like, hey, Ahsoka, I know what's about to happen, and I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, it's happening right now. It's Palpatine. Sorry, I didn't call you sooner.
Too late.
Yeah. Now, I think we're going to learn a lot more. I think that's what the Darth Maul show is going to be about. The Darth Maul show, like it's his talk show or something. He has a new guest each week. But I think that's what it's going to be, like learning a little bit more about how the Sith operate, why they do the things they do, why they show loyalty to their apprentices and to their masters until the moment comes when they either want to take over the Master Sith spot or get a new apprentice because that one's getting a little too powerful.
Well, I just think it's because he wanted to replace Palpatine. I think he wanted to take his spot, fill that vacuum.
I mean, Maul's plan seemed to be to form a crime syndicate, and maybe he knew Palpatine was eventually going to rise to power, and he could kind of have his little place in that. That maybe, I don't know, that Palpatine would respect that Maul has kind of this underworld under control, and he wouldn't want to tamper with it or mess with him. I don't know. We certainly see what happens when Maul and Sidious go toe-to-toe, like no match for him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't really know what Maul's long-term plan was, because he had to figure Palpatine is going to be successful. I'm making this crime empire. Like, how am I going to survive when the plan comes to fruition, when Palpatine is Emperor of the Galaxy?
Exactly. Next, I want to talk about The Mandalorian and Grogu. Jon Favreau did some extra interviews with Collider after Celebration where you get a little bit of information. He starts kind of getting asked about how much has Grogu grown up since we saw him in Mando Season 3. Jon says, you want to have a progression so it's not just the same situation over and over again. So on one front, the relationship between Mando and Grogu has evolved as now he's an apprentice and now he's a family member. As they go off, as it is said at the end of the last season, it's his job now to train him. They have to go out on adventures, they have to work together, there's an apprenticeship that's happening between the two of them, but also Grogu is becoming more comfortable. As remember, he was trained by none other than Luke Skywalker, and the path of the Force is a lifelong path. So we want to have evolution as the story gets bigger, the screen gets bigger, we want to have Grogu grow into that.
Well, I think what they're asking is, is he going to start talking? Is he going to get any bigger? Not that he's going to get, big, but Yoda-size big. What is that progression? Is he still going to be doing cute stuff? Or is he going to be a little more, I don't know if mature is the right word exactly, because he's such a strange case, because he's 50. He seems to have quite a bit of intelligence. He knows what's going on. He's very wise for his age.
Well, he can understand when people are speaking.
Status.
He doesn't know.
Yeah, he
just
knows
can't
what's going
vocalize.
on. Yeah, so what is the deal with him in terms of when and how is he going to grow up and become more say Yoda or Yaddle?
I thought it was interesting that he referenced being trained by Luke Skywalker and how the life of the Jedi, the path, it's lifelong. But he rejected that to go and become a Mandalorian, to stay with family. He wanted to not give up his connections.
I think what he's implying is that Mando, aka Din Djarin, is only going to live so long, and we know, assuming Yoda's 900-year-old age is kind of the norm for the species, we know Grogu's going to be around for a while yet and could certainly return to the path and have his Mando training in his pocket as well. I mean, I think we all know there's no chance that Disney and Lucasfilm are abandoning this character anytime soon.
Right.
He's going to be around for a while, so I think that's kind of what he's implying, he's going to get this Mandalorian training, but at some point he will return to the path of the Jedi. Though I am curious, just how long was he with Luke? It's when we see him, it feels like day one training, but it seems like it had to be longer because Mando was off doing his own thing for a while too. So kind of curious how long those two were together.
Next, they asked him just flat out, is The Mandalorian done as a series? Is it permanently going to be a film franchise? What's going on? What's the future look like? He said, right now, I'm focusing on the feature because we still have another year of the story. You discover so much as you edit and put a film together with visual effects. Right now, we're really locked in on the big screen story that's coming.
Yeah, that's a non-answer.
It's a
Like,
non-answer.
we'll see what happens
saying
after
they
the
don't
movie.
have a plan.
Well, I mean, I think it all comes down to the success of the movie, too, right? If the movie is a smash hit, we're going to see more Mando and Grogu movies. If that thing someone makes $1 billion, and we know the budget was kind of smaller, there's a Mando and Grogu movie, too, and 3 and 4 and 5. Let's be real.
Right. Who can say where that freight
Yeah.
train ends, right?
And if it doesn't do well, maybe you don't even go back to the series. I don't know. I mean, if it does really poorly, maybe you're just like, this kind of is, it's run its course. People don't find the cute Grogu thing all that interesting anymore. Though they'll still try to go back to it eventually.
They asked if he had an answer about how long the film was going to be. Is like a 2.5 hour, a 2 hour? What are we looking at on a runtime? Favreau said, "This is an adventure. You want to lean into the action and the aesthetic and the momentum of that. So to me, you want it to feel lean and keep the storytelling propulsive. That's my answer."
So probably the standard 2 hour and like 10 to 15 minutes.
But what I don't like is he's talking about keeping the action, keeping it lean,
Well-
and that's what they were doing in the show.
Well, I think I talked about this in a video on my channel the other day. I think there's 2 different ways to look at Star Wars. There's a movie genre, which is very action oriented and fast paced, and then you can look at Star Wars as a setting, which I think is what Andor does. Andor obviously does not have a fast pace. It's slower, it's more in depth, and I'm fine that the movies don't try to mimic that and vice versa, that we don't see the shows necessarily always trying to be like that. I think that's one of the problems when the show try to be too much like the movies, if that makes sense.
I can agree with that.
Like, it works for The Mandalorian because it was like one-off adventure of the week style. At least it started that way. But it didn't work so well for Ahsoka, I feel, because Ahsoka was a 8-part story. And now you're like trying to keep the pace going all the time. And you're like, well, can we just pump the brakes and get to know these characters a little bit?
I feel like that was part of the problem in Mandalorian Season 3, too.
Yes.
Definitely, that they leaned into the action so hard that we missed story.
Yeah, it felt like Mando Season 3 had the problem of, like, are we trying to make this kind of like an ongoing story or a serialized story, or are we making this a one-off kind of adventure of the week? And it kind of blurred together and kind of became a mess, I think.
The last thing they talked about is the fact that there are 3 seasons of a show before this movie take place.
Yeah.
And how are you balancing the fact that this movie has to not just be for people who've watched 3 seasons of The Mandalorian on Disney Plus. It has to be for a new audience, new fans, people who saw the Grogu merch in the store, their kids, and want to see a movie now with the little green guy.
Yeah, take the kids to see this new Star Wars thing with that character everybody talks about. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so who is this for? Is it for the people who watch every episode or the new fans?
I'm going to guess he says both.
Wow.
Because you do want to appease the people who have seen 3 seasons of The Mandalorian, too. You don't want to just ignore them. It's kind of like the Ahsoka series problem again. You had this 4 seasons of Rebels, which you were kind of a sequel to or a carrying on of. But at the same time, you also wanted to invite new people to see it, and it was kind of a mess there again, I think. I think you were much, much better off having seen Rebels over not having seen Rebels with Ahsoka. Like, I don't know how people who didn't see Rebels can make sense of Ahsoka.
Even so, the Clone Wars maybe into next season. If you haven't seen the Clone Wars, you might be missing out not knowing the Mortis arc.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Like, I'm assuming they're gonna try to cover that a little better because that's
We'll
really,
cover it again.
Well, I mean, we
We'll
will,
go
but I
over
mean,
it.
like in the series, kind of explaining what the hell this is. Because for a lot of people, I mean, I remember the first time I saw Mortis, I'm like, what the hell is this?
Oh, yeah.
And so for a lot of people, I think it's gonna catch them off guard when you're like god-like beings in Star Wars suddenly. But we'll see.
Well, what Favreau said was, that's honestly a big part of what we see as the challenge that we wanted to meet head on. A lot of people know these characters who haven't seen the show, so it's not just that there are people who saw the show and people who don't know the characters. There's a big range of people who are familiar with who they are, the archetypes, what they look like. They've seen them in fan-made stuff, social media clips, so you want to lean into that understanding, but not take for granted that they know all the lore associated with every season of the show. You also want to reward the people at the same time who've seen the show, who've been there since the beginning. And so that's the conversation that we constantly have, that I have with Dave especially. How do you embrace the characters, the archetypes, but not have it be required viewing? But if you've seen it, you see things that are in there that speak just to you, and that's a big part of Star Wars.
Yeah, it's that fine line between required reading and not required reading. It's
Exactly.
rewarding the people who have seen it, but not punishing the people who haven't.
Bingo.
All right, well, that is all we got for you this time. Now is your turn to take to the comments below and tell us what you think of any and all of today's news, and let's talk some Star Wars. And so, until next time, thanks for watching.
No super secret news today.
Aw.